Good afternoon, this is Martin with Maya Parts, and today we're going to be going over how to do a custom engraving on a replacement back glass for an iPhone X. On this particular machine, you'll notice that there is a image icon here on the left hand side. When you load this up, it gives you a menu that you can use to pull up any image that you have on the computer. And once you have it here, you go ahead and hit OK. And it'll show up here on the image. It's actually a bit too big, but we're going to do a couple of modifications to it. First, you want to select the image, and then up here on the menu bar, you're going to want to choose Modify and Transformation. There's of course just Position, Rotate. This one, Proportion, doesn't really work in this case because it's kind of just placing the image. So if you use things like Mirror, it really doesn't change the actual image, just the shape. So first things first, we're going to go with Scale. This really does take some kind of back and forth trial and error. Now I noticed from a practice image that I did that the height of this is roughly 139 millimeters. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and change, well actually first let's do a rotation. I'm going to rotate this by 90 degrees. And then I'm going to hit Application down here. And of course it rotates the image. Once that's done, I'm going to go here to the scale function. So in this case, I want to edit the width, which is the left to right, and I'm going to change that to 139 millimeters. And then I'm going to hit Application. And as you can see, it's scaled down the image to the appropriate amount. Once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and choose the red light button down here. You can also just hit F1, and it starts kind of putting a preview of the image boundaries here on the device. Now since the image is already selected on screen, I can use the arrow keys down here to actually position where I want this, and I'm just going to keep moving it down till it's in the right location. I'm just holding the down arrow key, and now I'll be holding the left key to make sure that that's in the appropriate spot. Maybe go up a little further and a little to the right. Okay. One thing to note, the image was already autofocused, but before you start this, you do want to make sure that you use the autofocus pin back here just to make sure that it's burning at the appropriate height. I'm also not putting it up against the frame here, because since the image is going to be burning up against the edge of the phone, I don't want to risk burning the bracket. I mean, it doesn't hurt it if it does, but it will discolor it. So just to be safe, I'm keeping it away from the bracket and just kind of here and out in the center of the paper. And once that's ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and hit F2, or alternatively you can also choose the mark button down here, but F2 will do the job. And it'll go ahead and start the burn process. As you notice, it's starting here in the paper because the image is actually much larger than the phone. It's going to take a little bit to actually go through the image. What it's doing is it's going through them line by line, almost like an inkjet printer. So I'll be right back when this is almost complete. Now this part of the image actually illustrates that pretty well. As you can see, it's just doing one continuous line from top to bottom, and using that to burn separate parts of the images all at once. And it's going to continue doing this from top to bottom and left to right until the image is complete. Laser's gone and it's all finished. I'm going to go ahead and lift this portion here. As you can see, there's a lot of ash underneath the burn surface, but all of this can mostly get just kind of blown away into the vacuum here. And this is more or less the finished product. One thing I will say, if you're going to be doing this for customers, the glue that you use or whatever adhesive you're using may show up under the burned areas. So depending on how big the burned part of the image is, you may want to consider going over it with a coat of paint. Unless you're looking for more of a see-through effect, which you can do, just be aware that if you don't clean off the residual paint that's left after the burn, you may see the areas where the glue was applied. So it's just something to be aware of. In our case, it isn't too big of a deal since this is for our testing department. But yeah, this is the final piece.